you does not actually want you to succeed. Now, they will never say this out loud. If you tell them you are starting a business or investing in the stock market or learning a high income skill, they will smile and wish you luck. But deep down, your ambition makes them incredibly uncomfortable. Why? Because human beings measure their own success by looking at the people directly adjacent to them. If you remain broke, tired, and stuck in the middle class, your friends and family feel safe. Your average life validates their average choices. Your financial struggles excuse their financial laziness. But the moment you decide to break out of the matrix, the moment you stop going to the bar on Friday nights and instead stay home to read financial reports, the moment you stop complaining about the economy and start building a holding company, you become a walking mirror that reflects their own failures back at them. You become a threat to their ego. And so the crowd will subconsciously do everything in its power to pull you back down to their level. They will mock your discipline. They will call you obsessed. They will tell you that you are working too hard, that you need to relax, that money isn't everything. They will throw social obligations at you, guilt tripping you for missing a birthday party or a weekend dinner. They will use your own empathy against you just to keep you in the herd. This is why you cannot build wealth while remaining fully integrated into average society. The noise is too loud, the gravity of the crowd is too strong. If you want to achieve the kind of financial freedom that most people only dream about, you have to do something radical. You have to disappear. Let me tell you a story about my own life. When I was a younger man building my career in investments, the entire financial world was centered in one place: Wall Street, New York City. If you wanted to be a player, if you wanted to make real money, everyone told you that you had to be in Manhattan. You had to go to the right cocktail parties, rub shoulders with the right brokers, listen to the constant hum of the ticker tape, and absorb the daily gossip of the trading floor. And for a short time, I was there, but I quickly realized something terrifying. Wall Street was not a place of deep thought. It was a place of endless, deafening noise. Every minute, someone was shouting about a new stock. Every hour, there was a new panic or a new euphoric bubble. The environment forced you to react to the emotions of the crowd. It made you manic. It made you impulsive. It made you average. I knew that if I stayed in New York, I would end up thinking like everyone else in New York. And if you think like everyone else, you get the exact same results as everyone else. So I made a decision that confused the entire financial establishment. I packed my bags, left the financial capital of the world, and moved back to Omaha, Nebraska. I disappeared. I isolated myself in a quiet city, far away from the noise, the rumors, and the panic of Wall Street. I sat in my study. I read annual reports. I thought deeply about the fundamentals of businesses, completely detached from the daily hysteria of the market. I built Berkshire Hathaway in silence. And while the brilliant guys on Wall Street were busy reacting to the daily news cycle, losing their minds and their money over short-term fluctuations, I was compounding capital in the quiet darkness of the Midwest. Wealth is not built in the chaos of the masses. It is built in silence. It is built when you finally shut out the voices of the crowd and listen to your own strategic mind. But in the modern world, the noise is 1,000 times worse than it was when I left New York. You carry the noise in your pocket. Your smartphone ensures that you are constantly connected to the crowd, constantly reacting, constantly emotionally drained. You are tethered to the opinions of strangers. If you want to break free, you need a hard reset. You need a period of absolute, unbroken focus. I am not talking about taking a weekend off. I am not talking about a digital detox for a few days. I am talking about a fundamental, aggressive restructuring of your life. I am talking about disappearing for 6 full months. In the rest of this masterclass, I am going to walk you through exactly what it means to disappear. I am going to show you how to sever the anchors holding you back, how to survive the agonizing dopamine withdrawal of the first 30 days, and what happens when you finally emerge on day 181, completely unrecognizable to the people who thought they knew you. If you follow this path, I promise you your financial destiny will be altered forever. But you must be warned, this is the loneliest path you will ever walk. When I tell you that you must disappear, I need you to understand exactly what I mean. I am not telling you to quit your job tomorrow, abandon your family, and move to a cabin in the woods. You still have responsibilities. You still have bills to pay. The disappearance I am talking about is not a physical relocation. It is a psychological vanishing act. You are going to remain in your current physical environment, but you are going to completely detach from the social matrix that is keeping you broke. The first and most critical step of this reset is understanding the ego trap. Most people fail at changing their lives before they even begin, and they fail because of their ego. When the average person decides they want to get rich, or start a business, or get in shape, what is the very first thing they do? They announce it, they go on social media, and they make a grand declaration. They post a picture of themselves at a coffee shop with a laptop, with a caption about the grind. They tell all their friends at the bar about their amazing new business idea. They broadcast their intentions to the entire world. And do you know why they do this? Because the human brain is wired to seek dopamine. When you announce a goal, and people hit the like button, or tell you how proud they are, your brain releases the exact same dopamine as if you had actually achieved the goal. You get the chemical reward of success without having to do any of the grueling, lonely work. And once you get that cheap dopamine hit, your motivation to actually build the business vanishes. You have already received the applause. This is the ego trap, and it is the reason why 99% of people never follow through on their plans. If you want to join the 1%, you must do the exact opposite. You must become a ghost. Rule number 1 of the 6-month reset is absolute silence. Stop announcing your moves. Stop telling your coworkers about your side hustle. Stop posting motivational quotes on your social media. In fact, delete the social media apps from your phone entirely. Your business plan does not need the validation of people who are broke. Your financial future does not require the approval of people who are trapped in the exact same rat race you are trying to escape. The element of surprise is the most powerful weapon a builder has. When you build in the dark, nobody can criticize your half-finished foundation. Nobody can project their own fears and insecurities onto your ambition. You protect your mental energy by keeping it entirely to yourself. Let them think you are boring. Let them think you have lost your edge. Let them assume whatever they want. Their assumptions do not pay your mortgage, and their opinions do not build your wealth. Now, you might be asking, why exactly 6 months? Why not 30 days? Why not a year? 30 days is a diet. 30 days is a temporary sprint. It is long enough to lose a few pounds, but it is completely insufficient to change the financial trajectory of your life. On the other hand, a year is too long for the human mind to conceptualize when making a radical behavioral shift. You will lose urgency. 6 months is the perfect scientifically backed window. It is exactly 180 days. From a biological standpoint, it takes roughly 6 months to completely rewire the neural pathways in your brain. It takes 6 months to physically break your dopamine addiction to the constant stimulation of your smartphone and replace it with the slow, deep satisfaction of focused work. Furthermore, 6 months is the exact amount of time required to go from absolute zero to highly competent in any high-income skill. Whether you are learning to read financial statements, learning to write code, mastering digital marketing, or analyzing real estate markets, 180 days of deep, uninterrupted evening focus will put you in the top 10% of that field. But the most important reason for the 6-month timeline is the law of compounding. Compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. It is how Berkshire Hathaway grew into a billion-dollar empire, but compounding does not just apply to money, it applies to effort. During the first 2 months of your disappearance, you are going to put in massive amounts of work, and you are going to see absolutely zero results. You will read books, you will study markets, you will build prototypes, and your bank account will not move a single inch. This is where the weak people quit. They expect linear returns, but in month 3, you will notice a shift in your understanding. In month 4, you might see your first small financial return, and by month 6, the snowball begins to roll under its own massive weight. The skills you have stacked on top of each other begin to generate exponential value, but you will never reach month 6 if you do not fiercely protect your environment, which brings us to the most painful and most necessary part of this entire process. You cannot take everyone with you to the top. If you want to survive the 6-month reset, you are going to have to make some brutal decisions about the people standing right next to you. There is a universal law of human behavior that you cannot escape, no matter how disciplined you think you are. You are the exact average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You will earn the average of their incomes. You will possess the average of their ambition, and you will adopt the average of their excuses. If you surround yourself with 5 people who are broke, complaining, and terrified of taking risks, I absolutely guarantee that you will be the 6th. This brings us to the 3rd and easily the most painful phase of your 6-month reset. The brutal audit. If you are going to disappear and build your financial foundation, you cannot drag your current social circle into the laboratory with you. Imagine that your ambition, your intellect, and your work ethic are the engine of a massive ship. You can build the most powerful engine in the world, but if the anchor is firmly dropped at the bottom of the ocean, that ship is not moving a single inch. Your toxic habits are not your only anchors. The people you spend your time with are the heaviest anchors of all. When you begin this 6-month reset, you are going to encounter 3 specific types of anchors. You must learn to identify them immediately. The first anchor is the Friday night friend. This is the person who only values you for your ability to entertain them. When you tell this person that you cannot go out drinking on Friday night because you are staying home to read a financial report or write code, they will not support you. They will try to make you feel guilty. They will say things like, "You have changed. You don't know how to have fun anymore. You are taking life too seriously." You must understand that they are not saying this because they miss your company. They are saying this because your sudden display of discipline makes them feel incredibly guilty about their own laziness. They need you to be at the bar with them, wasting your time and your money, so they don't have to face the reality of their own wasted potential. The second anchor is the complainer. This person is a professional victim. Every time you speak to them, they drain your energy by complaining about the economy, complaining about their boss, complaining about the government, and complaining about how unfair the world is. They consume negativity and they exhale defeat. If you allow the complainer into your inner circle during your 6-month reset, their pessimistic worldview will slowly infect your mindset. You cannot build a billion-dollar holding company if you are constantly listening to someone tell you that the sky is falling. The third anchor is the most dangerous because it is usually someone who genuinely loves you. I call this anchor the safe path relative. This could be a parent, a sibling, or a spouse. Out of genuine fear for your safety, they will try to pull you back into the matrix. When you take a risk, or when you sacrifice your free time to build an asset, they will tell you to be realistic. They will tell you to just get a secure job, keep your head down, and wait for retirement. Their intentions are good, but their advice is absolutely lethal to your freedom. My brilliant partner, Charlie Munger, had a very specific, ruthless rule when it came to dealing with anchors. Charlie said, if you identify a toxic person in your life, you must cut them out immediately, and you must do it without a single apology. Now, this sounds incredibly hard. Society tells you that you must be accountable, that you must be loyal to your childhood friends, even if they are dragging you down. But let me ask you a question. How can you possibly help anyone else if you yourself are drowning? You cannot pull a drowning man out of the quicksand if you are standing right in the middle of it with him. You have to get to solid ground first. For the next 6 months, you are going to have to become deeply, unapologetically selfish. You have to protect your time, your energy, and your focus with the ferocity of a guard dog. You are going to have to stop answering certain text messages. You are going to have to decline wedding invitations. You are going to have to miss the holiday party. You must look at your phone right now. Look at the last 5 people you texted and ask yourself a brutal question. Are these people builders or are they consumers? Are they talking about ideas? Or are they talking about other people? If they are consumers, you must hit the mute button on those relationships. If you do not have the courage to cut the anchors, your 6-month reset will completely fail by week 3. The gravity of your old life will pull you back in. But if you do have the courage to create that boundary, you are going to experience something terrifying. Once the noise of the crowd is gone and the anchors are cut, you will be left completely alone. And that is when the real agony begins. Most motivational speakers will tell you that the moment you decide to change your life, you will feel a massive surge of empowering energy. They tell you that you will sit down at your desk, filled with inspiration, and immediately start building your empire. But I am not a motivational speaker, and I am not here to lie to you. The truth about the 6-month reset is far more brutal. When you finally turn off your phone close your door, and sever the ties with your toxic anchor, you are not going to feel inspired, you are going to feel panic. When the noise of the world abruptly stops, you are thrust into a psychological space that I call void. The void is the deafening silence of an empty room. It is the exact moment you realize that there are no more distractions, no more excuses, and no one else to blame. For the first 30 days, the void will feel like absolute agony. And there is a very specific biological reason for this. For the past decade, your brain has been deeply conditioned to receive an artificial chemical hit of dopamine every 3 minutes. You get it from scrolling through infinite social media feeds, from checking the news cycle, and from the constant pinging of text messages. Your brain has become addicted to this cheap, effortless stimulation. When you suddenly remove all of those triggers, your brain enters a state of literal chemical withdrawal. You will sit down at your desk with a financial report or a blank document for your business plan, and within 5 minutes, your hand will automatically twitch, reaching for a phone that isn't there. Your chest will feel tight. You will experience an overwhelming, irrational urge to turn on the television just to have some background noise, just to hear another human voice. You will feel intense FOMO. The fear of missing out. You will imagine your friends having the time of their lives at the bar while you are sitting alone in the dark. This is the crucible. This is the exact moment where the 99% break. They reach the void, they feel the agonizing discomfort of the silence, and they immediately surrender. They turn the television back on. They text the toxic friend. They run back into the warm, comfortable embrace of the crowd. If you want to survive the void, you must completely reframe how you view the act of being alone. In the English language, there are two distinct words that describe being by yourself. The first word is loneliness. Loneliness is a state of profound suffering. It is the feeling that you are isolated against your will. It is the belief that the crowd is having a massive party and you are not invited. Loneliness is a state of emotional weakness. The second word is solitude. Solitude describes the exact same physical reality. You are still sitting alone in an empty room. But the psychological state is entirely different. Solitude is a state of immense power. It is a choice. It is the conscious decision to isolate yourself in order to achieve a higher objective. Solitude is the laboratory where billionaires are built. It is the only place in the universe where the noise of the crowd is finally quiet enough for you to actually hear your own thoughts. For the first time in your life, you are not reacting to the agenda of the news anchor or the agenda of your boss or the agenda of your friends. You are finally alone with your own strategic mind. When you embrace solitude, something miraculous happens to your brain. You must allow yourself to experience deep, uninterrupted boredom. Modern society treats boredom like a disease that must be cured immediately with a screen. But boredom is actually the precursor to immense creativity. When you starve your brain of cheap dopamine and mindless entertainment, your brain will panic at first. But eventually, it will adapt. To entertain itself, your mind will start generating high-quality ideas. You will suddenly figure out the solution to a complex business problem that has been bothering you for months. You will connect two seemingly unrelated financial concepts and spot an investment opportunity that everyone else missed. The silence, which initially felt like a terrifying enemy, will transform into your greatest ally. By the end of the first 30 days, the withdrawal symptoms will fade. You will no longer crave the noise. In fact, you will begin to fiercely protect the silence. The solitude will become the blank canvas upon which you paint your wealth. You will stop feeling like a victim of isolation, and you will start feeling like the architect of your own destiny. But what happens when the 6 months are over? What happens when you finally open the door and step back out into the world? The final phase of this journey is the most rewarding, but it is also the most shocking, because the person who walks out of that room is not the same person who walked in. When you successfully navigate the agonizing withdrawal of the first 30 days, and you fiercely protect your solitude from the anchors trying to pull you down, you will eventually cross the threshold into month 4. And it is here in the second half of your disappearance that you will witness the most powerful force in the universe. The magic of compounding. I have often compared building wealth to rolling a snowball down a very long hill. During the first 3 months of your reset, you are not rolling the snowball down the hill. You are standing at the bottom, packing the snow together with your bare hands and pushing a massive, heavy boulder up a very steep incline. It is exhausting, backbreaking work, and it feels like you are making absolutely no progress. But in month 4, you finally reach the crest of the hill. The resistance suddenly disappears. The neural pathways in your brain have successfully rewired themselves. The deep, focused work that used to require immense willpower now feels entirely automatic. Reading a dense financial report that used to take you 4 hours now takes you 40 minutes. The complex coding language that looked like absolute gibberish in week 1 suddenly clicks together and makes perfect sense. Your emotional control compounds as well. You no longer feel a spike of anxiety when your phone doesn't ring. You no longer feel the desperate need to check social media to validate your existence. You have developed a quiet, unshakable confidence of a man who is entirely self-reliant. And as your skills and your discipline compound, your capital finally begins to follow. The side business you spent 3 months building in the dark suddenly gets its first paying customer, then its 10th, then its 50th. The snowball is finally rolling down the hill, gathering mass and speed with every passing day. And then the calendar turns. You wake up on day 181. The 6 months are over. You stand in front of a mirror. And while your physical face might look exactly the same, the aura you project is completely different. You have done what 99% of the human population will never have the discipline to do. You have mastered your own mind. Now the time has come for re-entry. You decide to accept an invitation to dinner with your old circle of friends, the Friday night friends, the complainers, the people you had to put on mute to survive the reset. You sit down at the table, and within 5 minutes, you will experience a profound, shocking realization. They will start talking, they will complain about their terrible bosses, they will gossip about celebrities, they will make the exact same excuses for their financial failures that they were making 6 months ago. And as you listen to them, you will feel an overwhelming sense of distance. You will realize that you don't fit in anymore. Their jokes will not seem funny. Their problems will seem entirely trivial, because you now possess the mindset to know that their problems are completely self-inflicted. Many people view this moment of realization as a tragedy. They feel a deep sense of grief, thinking that they have lost their friends. But I am here to tell you, from the perspective of a man who has lived almost a century, that this is not a tragedy. It is the greatest victory of your life. You have not lost your friends. You have simply outgrown the matrix. You have graduated. You cannot expect a high school student to understand the curriculum of a university professor, and you cannot expect consumers to understand the mindset of a builder. You will leave that dinner table, and you will walk out into the night feeling lighter than you have ever felt in your entire life. You are free. You are no longer bound by the gravity of the crowd. You have built the skills, the discipline, and the foundation to spend the rest of your life answering to no one but yourself. So, as we bring this masterclass to a close, my final message to you is very simple. I am not asking you to buy a course. I am not asking you to invest in a specific stock. I am asking you to buy back your own life. Do not wait for the new year. Do not wait for Monday. The reset begins tonight. Look at your calendar and cancel your weekend plans. Pick up your smartphone and delete the applications that are stealing your future. Say no to the people who are anchoring you to mediocrity. Embrace the void. Fall in love with the silence. Disappear into the darkness. Put your head down and do the work. And 6 months from now, when you finally emerge, you won't need to announce your success to anyone. Your results will make all the noise for you. Thank you for listening. I will see you on the other side. Charlie Munger once said something that I believe is the absolute most important piece of financial advice anyone can ever receive. He said, the first $100,000 is a bitch, but you have got to do it. I do not care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that was not purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on $100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit. When Charlie said that, he was not trying to be harsh. He was simply stating a mathematical and psychological fact. The journey from $0 to $100,000 is the hardest financial transition you will ever make in your entire life. It breaks almost everyone who attempts it. Most people quit. They get to 10,000 or 30,000 or 50,000 and they get exhausted. They look around at their friends who are buying new cars on credit, taking vacations to Europe and eating at expensive restaurants, and they feel like they are punishing themselves for no reason. so they break their discipline. They spend their savings and they reset the clock back to zero. This cycle of starting and stopping is why the vast majority of the middle class will never experience true financial freedom. They are trapped in a permanent state of beginnings. They never push through the brutal gravity of the initial phase. To understand why, the first one, 100,000, is so difficult, you have to understand how compound interest actually feels in the real world. We all know the math on paper, but the human brain is not wired to understand exponential growth intuitively. When you first start investing, compound interest is practically invisible. If you save $10,000 and it grows by 10% in a year, you have made $1,000. $1,000 over 12 months is less than $3 a day. It does not change your life. It does not pay your rent. It does not allow you to quit your job. You are making massive sacrifices, working overtime, cutting your expenses to the bone, and your reward is $3 a day. It feels pointless. Your brain tells you that the effort is not worth the outcome. This is the danger zone. This is where 90% of people surrender to the temptation of instant gratification. But if you can push through that pain and you reach $100,000, the mathematics of the universe fundamentally change in your favor. A 10% return on $100,000 is $10,000 a year. That is nearly $1,000 a month of entirely passive income. You did not trade any hours for that money. You did not have to deal with a boss or commute through traffic. That money was generated purely by the capital you deploy. Suddenly, the compound interest is no longer invisible. It is doing the heavy lifting for you. The second 100,000 is infinitely easier than the first because your first 100,000 is now working alongside you, acting like a second employee who never sleeps, never takes a vacation, and never asks for a raise. By the time you are working on your fifth or 600,000, your capital is earning more money in a year than you could ever save from your salary. You have reached escape velocity, but you can never experience that magic if you quit at 30,000. The reason the first 100,000 is a psychological nightmare is because it requires a complete destruction of your current identity. You have to stop being a consumer and start being a producer. You have to stop viewing money as a mechanism to buy status and start viewing it as raw material to build an empire. Society is designed to extract your money from your pockets as quickly as possible. Every advertisement, every social media post, every cultural expectation is pushing you to spend. To save your first 100,000, you have to become socially invisible. You have to be willing to look poor while you are actually becoming rich. You have to drive a reliable, boring car while your broke friends drive leased luxury vehicles. You have to live in a modest apartment while people with half your net worth take out massive mortgages to impress their neighbors. It requires a level of emotional stoicism that very few people possess. You are essentially starving your ego to feed your future. And that process is incredibly painful. When you are starting from zero, every single dollar matters. You cannot afford to make mistakes. You cannot afford to lose money on stupid investments or impulsive purchases. Your margin of error is zero. You are pushing a boulder up a steep hill. And if you let go for even 1 second, it rolls all the way back to the bottom. You must adopt a mentality of absolute ruthlessness when it comes to your expenses. I am not talking about skipping 1 coffee a week. I am talking about fundamentally restructuring your life to maximize your savings rate. You must audit every single dollar that leaves your bank account with the intensity of a forensic accountant. If an expense does not contribute directly to your survival or your wealth accumulation, you must eliminate it without hesitation. You have to understand that every dollar you spend today is stealing $10 from your future self. When you look at a new phone that costs $1,000, you should not see $1,000. You should see the $10,000 that money could become if it was invested over the next 2 decades. That is the billionaire mindset. You measure the cost of things not by their price tag, but by the opportunity cost of the capital. One of the biggest traps people fall into during this initial phase is the belief that they can simply budget their way to wealth. Frugality is absolutely essential, but it has a mathematical limit. You can only cut your expenses down to zero. You still need to eat, you still need a place to sleep, and you still need to pay for electricity. Once you have optimized your spending, you must turn your entire focus toward increasing your income. You cannot save your way to $100,000 on a minimum wage salary. It will take too long, and you will lose your motivation. You must view your income as a shovel. The size of your shovel determines how fast you can dig yourself out of the financial hole. If you have a small shovel, you need to work harder to make it bigger. This means upgrading your skills, taking on more responsibility at work, starting a side business, or completely changing industries. The fastest way to accelerate your progress toward that first 100,000 is to increase your earning power while keeping your expenses completely frozen. This is where the concept of lifestyle inflation destroys so many promising futures. People get a promotion or a raise and immediately upgrade their apartment, buy a nicer car, and start eating out more often. They increase their shovel size, but they also increase the size of the hole they are digging. So they remain trapped in the exact same position, just with nicer surroundings. If you want to build wealth quickly, you must capture the entire margin of your new income. If your salary goes from $50,000 to $80,000, you must continue living exactly as you did at $50,000 and channel every single penny of that $30,000 difference directly into your investments. That is how you compress decades of wealth building into a few short years. You have to treat your savings rate as a non-negotiable tax that you pay to yourself before anyone else gets a dime. Another massive hurdle in the journey to 100,000 is the psychological pressure of the people around you. Human beings are social creatures. We are biologically programmed to conform to the behavior of our tribe. If your tribe consists of people who are broke, who complain about money constantly, and who use debt to finance a fake lifestyle, you will face immense social pressure to do the same. They will call you cheap. They will tell you that you need to live a little. They will try to convince you that saving money is a waste of time because the economy is rigged anyway. You must understand that their criticism is not about you, it is about them. Your discipline is a mirror that reflects their own lack of control. By choosing to save and invest, you are challenging the narrative that keeps them comfortable in their poverty.
Is there
You must be willing
kind that you
to
recommend
walk
for
this
us?
path alone for a while. You have to curate your environment ruthlessly. Stop listening to financial advice from people who are drowning in credit card debt. Seek out mentors. Read books written by people who have actually built wealth and consume information that reinforces your goals rather than tearing them down. Your mindset is your most valuable asset during this phase. It must protect you from the toxicity of the world. It is also crucial to recognize the difference between looking rich and actually being wealthy. The people you see on social media, flaunting designer clothes and driving imported sports cars, are very rarely wealthy. In most cases, they are highly leveraged. They are using their future labor to pay for their current ego. True wealth is silent. True wealth is the freedom to wake up in the morning and do exactly what you want to do without worrying about how to pay the bills. It is the security of knowing that if you lose your job tomorrow, your family will not miss a single meal. That level of profound peace cannot be purchased at a luxury boutique. It is built dollar by dollar, share by share, through relentless discipline and delayed gratification. During the grind, your first 100,000, you will face countless moments of doubt. You will have months where the stock market crashes and your portfolio
sit down on your Bible and grab.
You will feel like all your sacrifices were for nothing. This is the ultimate test. This is the barrier that separates the actual investors from the tourists. When the market drops, the tourists panic and sell their assets at the absolute bottom, locking in their losses and destroying their progress. The real investor understands that market volatility is simply the price of admission. They do not look at a market crash as a tragedy. They look at it as a clearance sale. They keep buying, they keep accumulating assets at a discount, and they trust the long-term trajectory of the economy. You must divorce your emotions from your portfolio balance. Your job is not to outsmart the market on a daily basis. Your job is to consistently acquire high-quality assets and hold them for decades. The people who win this game are not the ones with the highest IQs. They're the ones with the strongest stomachs. They are the ones who...
Having discernment means you see more things.
It does not mean you see all things. Being close to God makes you more like God, but it never makes you God. And therefore, you and I can be spiritual and still be surprised. Discerning and still be duped. Biblically literate and still in that mindset. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, let me be clear on my intention in this introduction. I am intentionally and assertively and aggressively attempting to expose and address a theological assumption that many people are unconsciously operating with that suggests being spirit filled means you're surprised. It is this unconscious assumption that because you are godly, you get all of God's attributes. And I am arguing that the scriptures that there are some attributes that are exclusively retained by God. And one of these attributes is an attribute we call omniscience. He sees all things. He knows all things. We don't. Therefore, I'm here. Therefore, no matter how prayerful, prudent, or perceptive you are, you will find yourself experiencing some predicaments that you couldn't predict. You're going to look up one day, and you'll be experiencing some life transitions you didn't predict. Some career catastrophes you didn't predict. Some financial realities you didn't predict. Some business shifts you didn't predict. Some relational dynamics you didn't predict. All of us will have to face something we didn't predict. Fight something we didn't predict. Carry something we didn't predict. Bury something we didn't predict. And after you're praying, and after you're fasting, and after you're turning your plate down, you're still going to step in a season where you look around and say, one day, I'm surprised. Some relational dynamics. It is real and deception that every information you receive is not only from my book, but we may have to embrace that how evolved you will become. How or in outgrow imperfect discernment. Is it quiet in this church? Wow! We may have effective discernment.